So after 6, we might have a chance to talk about the markets in a moment. So it looks like the global equity markets, if I look at Business Live, intensifying in recent weeks. It's around this concern that global growth will be hurt by aggressive increases in interest rates, not just the ones we've had in South Africa, but around the world, more importantly over in Europe and the US. We'll get to that possibly in a couple of minutes from now. But first of all, the stage 3 power cuts continuing this week, and that's where the bad news for power stops. There is some good news, can you believe it, this Monday morning. The petrol price is expected to come down on Wednesday. Yes, I can hear you cheering from home. For a look at the economic week ahead and some good news, we've dragged economist Joseph Busha back in with us. It's always good to have you, Joseph, every Monday morning. We love you coming in. And finally, we have an economist that has some good news for us. It's not all doom and gloom. Fuel price coming down on Wednesday. Thank heavens.
Every cent counts. That's what they say. You know, as long as you can put some savings into your pocket, I think that does count. So petrol is coming down by about R1 per litre this week, according to the Central Energy Fund. And unfortunately, diesel might be going up by up to 15 cents, 10 to 15 cents, and purely because I think there's too much demand for diesel. Remember, Eskom has to power the generators. Our homes have to power with the generators. But what that means basically is that if businesses are going to respond onto that, including consumers, as they travel, I know the taxes might not cut their fares immediately, but certainly I think it's a massive savings for all the motorists. And I think just because petrol and diesel is quite a very important mix in our energy mix in SA. You've got energy, you've got solar, you've got electricity, you've got the petrol. Those all form part of the energy. And I think if government can come up with a very good energy mix in terms of how they basically mix between the wind power, hydro power, coal-powered power, and the petrol, I think we could find some of the solutions. But certainly it's a good mix because it means inflation might not really go up as much as we're thinking next year.
Let's talk about what that link is. How is it, as an economist, you can start looking at, for example, the fuel price, the diesel price now, and we can start looking ahead to inflation numbers? Because I believe we could see another increase in November, and again, for more interest rates, and another one in January, February next year as well. Just help me understand, what's that link? How can you start predicting that far ahead?
There's always a lag. Remember, PPI came in high, but so PPI kind of leads inflation, which is the price producer index.
Yeah.
Now, what happens then is because fuel is kind of included in your transport costs, all your input costs, because logistics is quite a big issue. When you look at all the fast consumer moving goods, they require us to be moving things between Durban and Joburg or the inland from the ports. So what that happens basically is that it contributes significantly into your inflation or into your prices you get at the retail. So the main contributors, I think, for inflation in SA is transport costs and energy costs or electricity costs.
And I know that we're going to talk in just a moment about budget deficits, but I think what I imagine everyone is a bit worried about is we're seeing this fuel price decrease now. That's for more unleaded. There is this concern diesel will go up, as you say. Will we know? Is there any predictors? What does your crystal ball say? Come December, when people want to go on holidays, are we suddenly going to get smacked by a fuel price increase, or are we expecting it to hold steady, if not come down a bit more?
There are a few external issues that comes into play, including the Brent crude oil, which is sitting at about $87.97 per litre. So if Brent crude oil remains below 90 and the rand holds, currently it's 18.04 or 05 to the dollar. If the rand holds below 18, possibly we might see another respite. But I think if it continues to go up, the rand weakens, it negates any positive kind of benefit we would get from the decrease in petrol. So I think it's a balance. Yeah. It's a balance where the rand goes to, Brent crude will go to, and certainly I think what government will also aid in terms of levies. So remember, government actually gave us a decrease in terms of just reducing some of the levies or giving us a holiday in terms of charging the levies, because this is looked at on a monthly basis. So certainly I think if government government come, possibly they might give us an early Christmas gift by basically just not charging quite a lot of levies.
Let's certainly hope so. Let's say I hope the fuel price stays down for December so we can all go on holiday and not have it destroy our credit cards. Joseph, just as I say goodbye to you as well, in conclusion, a budget deficit as well. We're looking a few days ahead, I realise, but talk to me about budget deficit.
It narrowed to 7.8 billion from about 24. So that is to basically basically the surplus. So we had 24, now we've got 7 billion. So you don't want it to narrow, because what has happened there, if you look in terms of the deficit, it's actually increased. The budget deficit from about 39 to about 42 billion. So there is also a mismatch there, because what you want is basically to have more exports, but we had more imports than exports. So that's also not going to play very good. But I think some of the good news, as you mentioned in your news, really, ESCOM having a new board, we do hope that they will bring in new strategic direction. But I think the most important thing is the managers, the guys on the ground, in terms of what they're going to do and bring the solutions, because they are the engineers. But I think it's all good news to start the week.
It is good news. Forgive me, I still seem to have a bit of a cold. Forgive me for coughing all the time. I'm going to sneak this in because you brought up ESCOM, so I sort of get your thoughts on this. So we always talk about sentiment and investment sentiment. Is it too early to see what the markets are thinking of this new board? Is it a bit too early?
It's too early. Okay. It's too early. Remember, these are just board members who basically would give direction and a little bit of ideas in terms of what to do. But I think it takes a little bit longer for them to be able to bed down their ideas and to exert their influence. I think Teto Nyati is a very good seasoned executive from Atron and MTN. They do bring a little bit of private sector experience, but I think it would be too early for us to celebrate.
Well, I appreciate your time coming in every Monday morning to speak to us, Joshua. I really look forward to it as well. Joshua Busher from Joseph Busher Investments joining us this morning. Every single Monday as well, coming in just to unpack and just make sense of what is happening for the week ahead. We'll see you again next Monday. Joseph, thank you very much for coming in to join us. So you heard Joseph talking about what is happening with the Brent crude price and also the US dollar. Let's see